somebody made a sign that said, it was just like Beto photoshopped, and it said, "Hey Louisiana, my name's Beto," and it had the Cajun spelling of the O, like the E. Yeah. I was like, that's a fucking good one. I was like, yeah. Robert. It's tough to... Yeah, it's kind of impressive. I also thought those takes were hilarious that he could win. I'm like, y'all don't understand how many random counties are in DFE, Texas. That never gonna happen. Like, there are some places in this state that I don't even want to go to, like, because they're that great. I didn't see Georgia. Did Herschel end up losing? I knew it was I saw it was close. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. I'm just watching. Yeah. We're close to it. Right, that's been, as like someone who grew up Republican and surrounded, that was always the most confusing thing. I'm like, why do you people care? I'm like, who cares? It's not me. I was like, if it doesn't. It's fucking crazy, yeah. Right. And that's like my thing is like, if you could just find a fucking common middle ground and come out like as a conservative and say like, I don't support abortion, but there are very extreme cases in which you need it because that's the world we live in. Like, people would be like, oh, hey, this guy has a brain. Okay. Oh my God. Right. Crazy cases. shouldn't win. It shouldn't win. Thank God. Go to an all-game tailgate. They know how to party. No, I'm serious. Every Saturday, everyone there's gay. It's like me and my brother are like the only straight ones. It's fucking awesome. Oh, they know how to have fun at football. We're ready to roll if y'all are too. Oh yeah, every Saturday for college football. Like that's where I am, just partying with the gays. Everyone's like, this doesn't fit your character, Sandra. I'm like, y'all just don't know me. I'm all about a good time. I like to party.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Stokastic.com NFL Strategy Show. Wednesday edition means we're talking ownership. We're talking top stacks, breaking it all down after the first run we got posted up on the site. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D, LOUGHY_D on the Twitters. Joined, as always, every week by Neil Orfield at PlayerQDFS. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot. I think the first thing we're gonna have to talk about. I mean, you're the host, but this Justin Fields at the Lions thing is going to be interesting. What the ownership looks like.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he's not coming in as popular as I thought. I think that'll change. I think Fields throughout the week definitely becomes chalkier than he currently is.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you have to think so.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that he will be chalkier than we've got him projected for 13% after the week he had, after the 5-week stretch he's had. I feel like he's going to be higher than that. I was glad that he's not like 5,300, where it's like, how could you not play him at 5,300? At 65? It's a better question. So I do like that. The other thing that's going on, my wife is out of town, which used to be like sort of. I mean, I love my wife, love having her around, but like when she would leave town a few years back, that was like a kind of a mini vacation for me. Like I'm just going to veg out, watch movies, order takeout, like sort of an exciting thing. Now I got a dog and it's just like, he is her shadow and now he's my shadow while she's gone. So it's a little bit more responsibility for me. It's not quite the same feel.
How long have you had the dog?
A couple years. This is the first time that she's gone on it's the second time she's gone on a work trip.
Stop it, man.
Go to Florida.
You're telling me a dog is going to, a dog that you've had for multiple years is going to prevent you from enjoying yourself?
Oh, I'm still enjoying myself. I still watched Dirty Grandpa last night. I ordered some pizza. Yeah, no, I'm still enjoying myself, but it's like he's it brings down the mood of the house a little bit because he is just depressed when she's gone. He's like he loves her so much.
Okay, yeah.
So it's just so I feel bad for him.
Yeah. Take it for a nice little walk and have some fun. You got bones or something?
Oh yeah, I give him treats all the time. I'm the one who gives him a little, scraps from the table. Like I know you're not supposed to, but occasionally I'll give him scraps. While she's not home, I just give him, all the scraps he wants.
Well, maybe this is an opportunity to bond with him.
Oh, I bond. I mean, I love my dog. It's just he's more affectionate when she is home because he's in a good mood. Now he's like, don't talk to me. I just want to like curl up here. It's a different feel here. Now I love my dog. My dog is my best friend, Carlos.
I have a little bed for her right now. She's just laying right there, chilling, relaxing. She's very, very, very low maintenance. Now, granted, I have a 1.5-year-old daughter, so that's like if my wife leaves for the weekend, it used to be hell yeah, we're okay.
Exactly, same feeling. I mean, it's a different thing having a child you have to take care of too.
Oh, now it's like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
She's the glue. She holds everything together around here. Sometimes I'm just along for the ride. But yeah, for sure. That's tough. Like, oh man, the nights like my wife goes out once it's 7:00 and I put Jordan to bed. Oh, that's when you can kick back and relax, crack open.
Your daughter's name is Jordan?
What's up?
Did you name your daughter after Jordan Klein?
Jordyn.
Okay. So okay. But still.
No, she's got the female spelling. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, try to enjoy it, Neil. Try not to let the dog bring them.
I am enjoying it. I don't want to say that I'm not enjoying it. It's just, it's a different feel. It's not like just the full freedom that I'm used to.
Anyway, happy to have you guys with us. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening in podcast form, welcome to you as well. Leave a comment down below if you're listening after the fact. Podcast, rating, review, all that stuff helps us a ton. Subscribe to the channel. And yeah, John, we are just all along for the ride. I'm man enough to say that I would be completely lost in terms of most things, just operating as a standard semi-normal human being, Neil.
Yeah. I was single for years, was fine on my own. But now that I have been married and I've been with my wife for over 7 years, now I think I've forgotten how to do things on my own.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I still do stuff, but there's many things where I'm like, how do you do that again? And then you just ask dumb questions and you're like, yeah, you
got to boil the water before you put the noodles in. It's
just serving uncooked spaghetti. No, I make good spaghetti. Spaghetti's easy. You could certain things I can do quite easily. I can grill. So there's that, but most other things gets ugly. Anyway, let's get into it. We got 10 games. Interesting ownership. I do think, obviously, it's Wednesday. A lot of this is going to change. There's certain things I look at and I'm just going, yep, no doubt. I'm convinced that there are certain spots that will change throughout the week as certain players get steamed. It's just going to happen. Also, the Josh Allen news is big too. Dealing with what they think is a UCL injury, limited practices this week. They're hopeful that he plays, but the line is 4.5 at home against the Vikings team. Neil, please take no offense to this. It doesn't have a single convincing win on the season. They've played well. They have not been convincingly good. If Allen was playing, I would bet this game up to a touchdown, probably. The Bills.
Yeah, no, I think that is probably correct. I sadly do agree with you. I'm not fully buying, and I'm a Minnesota sports fan, so I never fully buy that my team is actually good. But
yeah, me too.
Especially this team is man, that's a 7-1 team, but I just cannot believe it. It's a little bit tough, but I don't really know what to make of Josh Allen. I mean, it's still. Do you think it would be a 5.5 point spread if Josh Allen were ruled out though? If it were definitively Case Keenum this weekend?
Well, that's the thing. It's at 4.5 right now. I was talking to Ben about this earlier. Very sharp when it comes to betting. He was saying he thinks this could just be a hedge, right? Where it doesn't
that's
really
what it feels like to me.
Doesn't entice you to either side, because if you think Allen's going to play, 4.5 looks wonderful. Yeah. To me, at least. To me, it looks real good.
No, it does. I'm with you.
At home, coming off a bad loss. Vikings back-to-back road games. Yeah, it would certainly look good, but I don't know. I guess though, from an ownership standpoint, you're definitely talking about a situation where you take Josh Allen off the field, and what's pretty good matchup against that Minnesota secondary. Sure, you get, Case Keenum at $5,000, but the quarterback position is not that good this week in terms of pricing. In terms of how easy it is to stack. We can get into that Miami stack, how expensive that is. That's why I was a little surprised that Fields wasn't more popular than he is, because it opens things up. Even now that he's at 6,500, if you wanted to stack him, it opens things up. Yeah,
I mean, that's true. You can stack him with Fields. He looks really interesting to me. We've got him at 13.3% ownership. Looking at the top stacks, just a 3.5% chance to be in the top stack on the board. I got to say, I think I'm going with it. I was kind of hoping that the ownership would come in 20 or 30%, so that I could just feel comfortable fading Fields. I don't think I'm going to full fade him, but I think I'm probably going to come in under the field on Fields, no pun intended. The negative leverage. I mean, I'm all about building a stack for upside, and it's harder to do that with Fields. I mean, I know we've seen several games in a row now that he's been putting up fantasy points. And this past game, double bear stack, won the Millie. So
yes,
it's within the range of outcomes. I never build double bear stacks. And I mean, to be honest, neither Kmet nor Mooney actually put up that huge of games. They both had. It was what it allowed you to get to. Yeah, it's true, because they were cheap. That's a good point. So they had good value games for their salaries, but it's kind of hard.
I'm agreeing with you though. He had Tua in that lineup, right? Or I'm sorry. He had Tyreek Hill in that lineup, Joe Mixon, Stevenson, Kirk. It was funny looking at this lineup, Ken Walker, Patriots, because half of the lineup was just average, not the scores you would expect to see in a winning Millie Maker lineup, right? Right. Look at just to give you guys an idea here. So Fields had 45 Mixon had 58. Tyreek Hill had 30. Kmet had 22. Kenneth Walker had 31. Patriots had 26. But like Stevenson as 41% chalk was very underwhelming. Mooney, like you said, was fine. Christian Kirk was fine. It wasn't a lot of times you see lineups where every single piece has to be perfect. This was just a lot of perfect pieces, including that Patriots defense and Joe Mixon.
I mean, you had the pieces that you really needed in Mixon, Fields, Patriots defense. He had Devontae Adams, right? Devontae Adams and Hill. He did not have Devontae Adams.
And Adams had like 17 more fantasy points than Hill at basically the same price.
No, he didn't have 17 more, did he? I thought he had like 9 more fantasy. You might be right. I might be.
I might be wrong. I thought Adams had. Oh no, you know what? He probably was in the 40s or 30s.
I thought it was 30 to 39.
I thought he had 47. He had a bit around. Yeah, basically, 9 more points. Okay, my fault.
Which is a little bit easier to overcome than 17. I was like, damn, that would be.
For some reason, I was thinking 47. I don't know why, but you're right. It was 9 more points.
Okay, but he had one of those 2 receivers that you kind of. I'm surprised he didn't have the 39-point Devontae Adams, but probably couldn't fit him in there even with all the price savings at quarterback and in that stack. Yeah, I mean it's just he hit on, for the most part, the pieces that you needed to have, and then just got fine performances from Kmet and Darnell Mooney, and it was a great lineup. It's one of the better Millie Maker lineups that I look at, and I'm like, I kind of love this lineup. So kudos to that guy.
I like it too. He didn't do anything insane. Like the only really low owned player was still a stack pairing with his quarterback.
Kmet.
Yeah, he was the only guy below 8% in this whole lineup.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy at all. It was a nice lineup. We've seen some lineups too that really haven't gotten crazy lately win the Millie. I think we've seen a lot of them, as a matter of fact. Yeah,
I mean, we've definitely seen some good lineups. We've seen some like major game stacks, and actually this one kind of fits into that as well. Like this was he overstacked relative to what most people were doing with the double stack and the bring back. A lot of people were playing Fields naked with no bring back. A lot of people were playing, Fields with one receiver, approaching it very different ways. So it was unique for him to actually double stack Fields, which is we've seen that happen. I think this is the 3rd time this year that people have overstacked to get unique, and that's just a way to get a little bit different, just fully game stack. And this was, 2 receivers in the bring back, not exactly a crazy game stack, but more so than most were doing for Fields on his side.
Second place lineup was Justin Fields and Kmet. That's it, with no bring back, no run back. Adams, Mixon, Aaron Jones was in there too. Oh, that's got to feel so shitty. Yep. Oh man,
that's rough. He got hurt.
Yeah, that's got to feel terrible.
Yeah,
but it was really an interesting week for sure. And then the only difference between the 3rd place lineup and the 1st place lineup was, Curtis Samuel and ETN was a few points lower than Christian Kirk and Ken Walker. That was the only difference. So, yep. Could have broke many different ways. All right, let's get into this. Let's talk a little running backs here. At the top of the position right now, ownership wise, right? Yesterday we do first look. We go actually by position, start at the top of the actual salary tiers. Travis Etienne, though, getting a lot. Another really strong game. Barkley at 20. I thought Barkley would be even higher than this. I thought Kamara would be lower than this. I thought Jacobs would be lower, and I thought Dameon Pierce would be a little bit higher, judging from the fact that this game could see 70 combined rushing attempts between Saquon Barkley and Dameon Pierce.
Yeah, certainly.
I'm exaggerating, of course, but a lot of rushing attempts.
No, I would expect there to be a lot of rushing attempts in that game. Yeah, 21.5% for Saquon Barkley. Certainly nothing too crazy there. A little bit of negative leverage. He's 8,600. Obviously, we love the matchup with the Texans. But yeah, 17.4% chance to be an optimal. I don't really know what you need to say about Saquon Barkley. The price is high. He's probably worth it. This is one of the best matchups that you can hope for against the Texans. Giants have a 23.5 implied team total. Texans are 32nd against the rush in terms of DVOA. So dead last in the league. It's about as good of a matchup as you could possibly hope for. I mean, it is as good of a matchup as you could possibly hope for Saquon Barkley. And he is one of the best running backs in the league. So yeah, the ownership is there. looks like he's getting in a little bit over owned. He is 8,600, which is one of the. Is he the most expensive? I haven't sorted by salary. Let's see here. He is
who the most expensive?
Oh no, he's Saquon Barkley. He is the second most expensive running back on the slate. But so I guess that leaves.
No, he's the most expensive.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey's not on the slate. Yeah. I've got to. I just had to refresh because I was like, this ownership doesn't look the same. All right.
Yeah, Barkley, Henry, Chubb, Cook are all above 8K.
Yep. So he's the most expensive, which is why, even though he's a great play against Houston, we only have him the optimal 17.4% of the time. Really, that's a pretty high percentage of the time for a player who is 8,600, the most expensive running back on the slate. Yeah, I don't know what else you need to say about him. We've got him slight negative leverage, but he's obviously a great play. If you have 8,600 left over in the flex spot or, in a running back spot, whatever, you're probably playing Saquon Barkley. He's about as good as it gets.
Are you familiar with the big wood memes that were going around during COVID and everything?
The big wood memes.
So Mateus I don't know, did I pronounce it right? Mateus? He said, my buddy just got me good. Sent me a link saying Josh Allen's out for the season. I clicked on it. It was a naked black dude with a massive dong, right?
I mean, I assume that it's the guy that I'm thinking of, like people, the guy sitting on a bed.
Yes, thank you. Okay, yeah. Big. I can't believe it's the first time you've seen. You can't click on something that is clearly an image. They make it look like a link. But those are going around forever. And there's some of the funniest ones. That guy actually died. There's a backstory.
Did he really?
Oh, yeah. There's an article. So this got real big during COVID, like quarantine. Everyone was sending him and tricking people, and you know what I mean? And it was hilarious. Yeah, he died. He actually died and kind of became a legend in, I don't know where. But see, you knew exactly who I was talking about.
Oh, yeah. I can picture the guy. Yeah, that's that meme. I saw it like in a coffee. Somebody posted a coffee with him.
No, you did. Dude, that was a local restaurant. I posted that. Yeah, that was a local restaurant near me where they sent out menus to everyone in the town and the surrounding towns. They didn't know that whoever made them they didn't know this. Whoever made them, they had a cup of Frappuccino with like the froth up top.
Yeah.
They had him with his dick just sitting there perched up, and it went out to thousands and thousands of houses, man.
Yeah. Not going to go take him back. Just go with it.
They sent an apology out, but then people started visiting them from all over. They're like, this is the place. Yeah. So yeah, that's funny. I forgot about that. That was again during all the COVID stuff as well. All right, back to running backs. Derrick Henry's such an odd option this week because I like Barkley more just in a vacuum, but I thought he'd be a lot more popular than Henry. I thought you'd be able to get some leverage in a spot with Henry against the Denver defense, whose run defense has been the weakness. At 5% difference, I'm just not really seeing it. I really did think he'd be at such a similar price point, be lesser owned by a wide margin or a wider margin than Barkley in this game, but it's not appearing to be the case, at least early in the week.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised by that too. To be honest, I think of Denver as having one of the best defenses in the league. This seems like this is new, right? That their run defense is not doing that well. They're now 25th in terms of DVOA. Yeah. They've been pretty good throughout the year, so they have definitely been not as good recently. I mean, you say you don't see it, but then look at the boom bust tool. We see Derrick Henry in the optimal 23% of the time to Saquon Barkley 17% of the time. So it's, we do have positive leverage on Henry. So even though he is coming in higher owned than I would have expected to, in terms of the boom bust tool, it looks like Henry is the one that has some positive leverage there. So I think I could see myself getting there against the Broncos. I'm with you in that, intuitively, I would think that Saquon Barkley at $300 more against Houston's run defense would be the better spot. But Derrick Henry has been more involved in the passing game recently. Now he's got this matchup with the Broncos coming in a little bit lower owned. So I think they're both great plays. If I have 8,600, I'm still probably just playing Saquon Barkley instead of Derrick Henry. But if I have 8,300 left over, I'm not going to change things up to make sure I get Saquon in there over Derrick Henry.
I would definitely prefer Henry if Tannehill's back though, because he'll have zero pass catching upside if it's Malik Willis, just zero.
Yep, absolutely with you.
Willis completed 5 passes last game.
That was so brutal. That was
right.
Yeah.
5
not
passes.
a fun game to watch.
Yeah, I think I tweeted a couple of times. Derrick Henry is my favorite football player to watch. He is like over Hurts over Lamar Jackson. I think Cooper Kupp's fantastic to watch, but Derrick Henry just so deceptive with that speed in the second level and blasting through the second level. You would never expect it. He's so good. Kansas City knew exactly what was coming in that game, exactly what was coming. And for that entire first half, it didn't make a damn difference. He averaged 6.8 yards per attempt. So I'll definitely have some Henry this week for sure.
Yeah. I'm not with you on him being my favorite player to watch. I kind of enjoy it, but I don't know. I prefer watching Lamar Jackson. Just a running quarterback is so fun for me.
Most people. That's why I said more than for me. It's of course it's a personal preference, but Lamar is always going to be for most people, or like Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes is super fun to watch. Just off balance throws across his body under pressure. There's a lot of amazing players. Tyreek Hill being another one. There's some great players out there to watch. I just love Derrick Henry. I love watching this guy run.
He's fun. He's been doing it for so long now. Just such a beast. I get it.
Any other high owned players right now that you're either really liking or, of course, it's only Wednesday, but that you're not particularly fond of?
Man, I cannot believe this negative leverage on Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook, 8,000. We've got him at 4.5% ownership. To me, that seems like I'd want to get to some Dalvin Cook. We only have him in the optimal lineup 0.9% of the times, which I guess is a testament to that Bills run defense being a tough spot. It obviously is a tough spot. So hard to love it too much when we've got him in the optimal less than 1% of the time. Josh Jacobs, we have a little bit of, it's essentially neutral leverage. We've got him at 20.8% projected ownership, 21% optimal. So about as neutral as you can get with Josh Jacobs. Have to like that a little bit. Kamara, I think somebody just brought him up in chat, 15.7% projected ownership, 15.2% optimal. I kind of like Kamara this week if he's going to be, 15, 16% owned. No Mark Ingram to worry about anymore. We saw Dwayne Washington kind of take over that Mark Ingram role a little bit, but not. I don't think he got as many carries.
Hard to say because they fell behind so early too.
Yeah, it's also true. Have to love the fact that Alvin Kamara is also kind of game script proof. He, is involved in the passing game, involved in the rushing game. Prefer to have Dalton starting. I think Dalton is still starting this week. I don't know if we have confirmation of that, but obviously that is your preference if you're playing Kamara. Steelers defense, nothing to be afraid of this year. 21st in terms of pass DVOA, 11th in terms of rush DVOA. Pretty good spot for Kamara. Who else among these? Anybody else that stands out to you among the higher owned guys that you want to play?
No, I love Dameon Pierce. I think Dameon Pierce is a great play. The Giants run defense is putrid, 5.5 yards per attempt. You're talking about a guy in Dameon Pierce that Lovie Smith has said many times. And unlike other coaches, say what you want about the guy. We're talking from a fantasy perspective. Unlike other coaches, has actually been true to his word. And hey, we want to get this guy 20 carries a game. Look at his last 4 games, 26 attempts, 20, 15, 27 against the Eagles. The touchdown equity with him is the rough part. There's no denying that. That's what sucks. Like, he's not getting into the end zone as much as other players because his offense is so bad. But yeah, he's good. Number one, like, he's actually good. He's great. He's great after contact. He can shed tackles. So I think that ownership makes sense. Kamara at 18, fine. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kamara. I love or 16%. Sorry, I love that he's healthy again. Should be a favorable game script for the most part. So I get it. The one that I have no interest in whatsoever is 12% Najee Harris. I'm not saying he's mega chalk, but like, what he doesn't have a 15 fantasy point game this year. And no, it's not the same as saying like, oh, well, Joe Mixon had struggled too. Joe Mixon's actually on a good team with a competent offense that can put up a ton of points. It's just very difficult for me against a good Saints run defense to see Najee Harris getting into the end zone multiple times here, racking up 100+ yards on the ground. It's been a terrible, terrible year for him. And I'm not sure there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. So I think I'm with you on both Pierce and Najee. Like Pierce looks incredible in the tools, 16% projected ownership, 24% optimal. I had it sorted wrong, so I wasn't seeing him at the top there. But yeah, Pierce looks phenomenal in the tools. Typically has been involved in the passing game pretty much for the past several weeks. Other than last week, he had 0 targets. That helps a lot. But if last week we saw him not involved in the passing game, we just saw him rush for over 100 yards instead. So hard not to like Pierce against the Giants. And then Najee Harris, Najee Harris. They've been saying that he's going to be taking on a lesser role. Somebody just pointed this out in chat, but I was seeing reports yesterday. I picked up Jaylen Warren in multiple fantasy leagues because I was like, all right, I mean, this is if he's going to be taking on a bigger role, even in Pittsburgh, that's worth something. But Najee Harris, I think that this is a spot where the tools maybe they're based more on what we've seen so far, right? Like so we have Najee Harris in the tools at 9% projected ownership, 19.4% optimal. I think that doesn't account for this news that he's likely to be taking on a lesser role. So I have no interest in Najee Harris this weekend either. Even with this positive leverage, I'm going to assume that that's sort of based on the volume that he had been getting, and going forward, I don't think we can expect that. So not a fan of Najee Harris at 5,500 either. I'm with you there.
Eric asked about Tony Pollard. We don't have info yet. My assumption is that Ezekiel Elliott doesn't play in this game. I don't. It's tough to say. I don't know. I right now I would lean against him playing. If Zeke doesn't play, Pollard will definitely be chalky, and rightfully so at $6,500. There's no denying that. I would love Tony Pollard.
Yeah, so I will say he only actually had like 15 carries in that last game without Ezekiel Elliott, and the coach actually came out and said that they don't want to use him more than that. Like if they use him more than that, he's going to lose his explosiveness. So they intentionally are not using Tony Pollard, 25, giving him 25 touches a game. They're intentionally trying to give him less of a workload because they think he'll be less explosive if they do. So if he becomes too chalky, if Zeke is ruled out and he becomes too chalky, it might be an interesting fade spot depending on how much ownership gets it. Because I'm with you. I mean, it's obviously a great spot against that Packers defense. If Tony Pollard is the guy and we can count on, 15 to 20 touches, I'm probably going to be playing some Tony Pollard with you. But if he gets up to like 35, 40% projected ownership, which I think there's some chance he does after that last game he had without Ezekiel Elliott, I think I would be under the field there.
I would agree with that for sure. I would definitely agree with that. I also think that there's something to be said about the fact that they didn't need to use him 20 plus times in that last game. I'd like to see what McCarthy has to say if this is competitive.
Right. If they feel like they need to use him. Okay. People in chat saying Zeke is likely to play according to NFL Network. So at least the reports are suggesting that Zeke probably will play this weekend, in which case I'd be less inclined to play Tony Pollard. I think that goes without saying.
Well, so the way that Ezekiel Elliott spoke sounded like it was still questionable.
Okay.
But I guess there's something here saying he'll wear a knee brace in Cowboys. It says if he does return. So
okay.
All right.
I could be read the report. I'm just reading chat.
I could definitely be wrong. I'm just not convinced. I don't know. Like the swelling is down, less discomfort in his knee. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. They're 6-2. They have a great backup. If he's not 100%, it'd be silly to run him out there. So
yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. All right. Some lower owned players. Eric had mentioned Nick Chubb, Eric Johnson in chat. It's a weird game, right? Because Miami has become such a massive pass funnel defense. I know last week Justin Fields ran all over them. That's a little bit different than the run game for Cleveland. Nick Chubb's always viable. He's just not involved in the passing game. That makes it kind of tough. Small 3.5-point dog on the road. You might have to open it up with Jacoby Brissett, though. You've got good weapons in Amari Cooper, and Njoku's expected back. Maybe Nick Chubb has one of those patented 3-touchdown, 150-yard rushing games. Anything's possible. I just don't know how well it sets up for him. Where are you at on Nick Chubb and any of these other lower-owned players that might stand out?
Yeah, so I mean, the Dolphins defense in general, you can put up points on them. Browns 22.5 implied team total. The Dolphins are a bit of a pass funnel, though, as you alluded to, 31st against the pass, 7th against the rush. So that doesn't set up that well for Nick Chubb, who's just, as you said, not involved in the passing game. So it makes it a little bit tougher. I think the 150 yards part of what you just said, the potential game, it's harder from that perspective. I don't think that it really hurts the chances of scoring 3 touchdowns, though, because they can just, if they're moving the ball through the air, he could get, some 1-2 yard carries in the red zone. They might be able to get him some looks inside the red zone. So I think setting up for, multiple touchdown games, certainly within the realm of possibility, may be tougher to get that upside in terms of yardage. And of course, happens all the time. We see players against great run defenses still put up 150 yards. So it doesn't, fully exclude that possibility. It just makes it, I think, a little bit less likely against a defense like the Dolphins. So I think Nick Chubb is fine. We have slight negative leverage on him at 7% ownership. Let me double check. 7% ownership, 5% optimal, I believe it was. Yeah, 7.4% ownership, 5.1% optimal. Honestly, that seems about right to me. That's about what I would expect it to be, with the other options around him just looking a little bit better. The guys who are just a little bit more expensive. So I think Nick Chubb is a fine play, just not somebody that I'm really prioritizing trying to get above the field at 7.4%. The other player that I wanted to mention, who's, not extremely low owned, but David Montgomery looks great in our tools. And on top of what the tools say, obviously leverage against Justin Fields. If we're expecting Justin Fields to get more ownership, which I think both you and I are probably expecting him to get more than that 13% ownership, David Montgomery is going to be some nice leverage against all of the Fields lineups. 8.4% projected ownership for Montgomery, 15.7% chance of being optimal. In their last game, Montgomery carried the ball 14 times. Of course, Fields carried the ball 15 times in that game. David Montgomery was still involved enough to carry the ball 14 times and a reception. So very involved. And maybe if this game just sets up better for, handing it off to Montgomery, he eats into Fields a little bit. So I like David Montgomery quite a bit against the Lions as well.
Ben talked about that yesterday. Just there's like a huge leverage spot if the Fields play and a Bears stack doesn't pan out. Yeah, exactly.
And that's on top of, like, we just looking, and that was Ben said that before even seeing that he looks great in the tools. The tools have positive leverage on David Montgomery, which doesn't even factor in the leverage on Fields. So just looks like a great spot for Montgomery.
I wonder if Jamal Williams ends up getting any significant boost in ownership. I don't think he will. It is at least worth talking about, though, just because we're looking at a player here who had 24 carries last game. DeAndre Swift had 2 carries. And while Dan Campbell said he wants to get Swift a little bit more involved this week, I just can't imagine it would be all that much. It's another season where they've got nothing to play for. They're not going anywhere. DeAndre Swift is just perennially injured. It doesn't matter what season he's always going to be banged up. What's the point right now? Like, yeah, you want to win games. So I'm thinking probably 5 carries, 3 or 4 receptions. Yep. He played, you know how many snaps he played last week? No. Take a guess.
I'm going to guess 30.
10.
Damn.
He played 10 snaps last week.
You know what I usually do when people ask questions like that? I say like 4. Like I set it up to because you're obviously expecting me to go over. But since we're on a show, I decided to be nice and play along with the game and over guess.
No. Feel free. Ben and I do this all the time.
I do it just to fuck with people. They say like, "What do you think?" And then I just give them like a number that's clearly going to ruin their punchline.
But I want your honest answers, because there may be times where I'll intentionally lead you into thinking it's one way. So you go insane in that direction and you'll be like 4 snaps. And I go, no, he played 75 snaps.
Oh, we're going to play a little game with
so 2 can play this game. You see what I'm saying here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
But yeah, okay. I appreciate you trying to be, to play along with that. But 10 snaps after playing 33 the week before that.
Yeah. And they a little bit more involved is what, 15 snaps?
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Yeah, right. What's a little bit more involved? It's not a lot.
And he said he's going to be he's likely to be playing hurt all year. Like, what are they doing? Why are they even running him out there? Wait until he is healthy, if that is a possibility. I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you. Jamal Williams looks kind of interesting. He looks great in our tools. 7.9% projected ownership, 9.1% chance of being optimal against a Bears defense that has been very bad this year. I think people might still be struggling to get over Bears defense being bad, because they're one of those defenses like the Steelers that were just good every year for several years. Bears are now 26th in terms of pass DVOA, 26th in terms of rush DVOA. Sorry, that's Lions. Bears are 30th in terms of pass DVOA, 28th in terms of rush DVOA. So really a great spot for Jamal Williams, assuming that he is lead back, which is the assumption that we're making here. So yeah, Jamal Williams looks very good.
Yeah, defense stinks.
Yeah.
You just have to hope they don't fall behind too much, because that Bears offense looks so damn good.
Yeah, true.
All right. I think that covers it. Let's talk wide receivers here. Before we do, though, shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks, doing big things over there. Not only doing big things, but when we partnered with them, we said, hey, if people sign up over at Prize Picks and use your fantastic site where you're just taking player props, building lineups, if you hit 5 of 5, you're 10Xing. If you hit 4 of 5, unlike a traditional parlay, you still 2X. 3 of 5, right? A traditional book, you hit 4 or 5, 3 of 5, you make nothing back. They say, sorry, thank you for your money. Nope, not here. 3X still makes money back, and you can do as many sports as you want. Football, baseball, basketball, you can mix them, combine them. You can do a 4-pick power play, especially if you guys are in non-legal betting states. What better way than to scratch that itch and get in over at Prize Picks? So we partner with them. We say, hey, listen, people sign up over there. You're already giving them up to $100 first match deposit bonus when they sign up and deposit using the link in the description and in the chat. That's exactly how they said it, or what we said. But what if we also say, all right, first match deposit bonus, nice site, all the sports, no sharks, no optimizers, no mass entries, just daily prop-based contests. What if we also give everybody who signs up and deposits using the link a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum? I mean, they said, hey, down. Yeah, they said, guys, it's $120 value. And they're like, yeah, but is it just for football? We came back, we said, no, it's every sport, football, basketball, hockey, MMA, PGA, doesn't matter. Everything, all of our tools, the boom bust tool, the top stacks tool. The conversation got weird. You know, they're talking real fast like this, Neil, and these people don't know what these tools even are. They're like, is Fantasy Cruncher involved? No, because we don't own Fantasy Cruncher. We just host it on the site, but you can get the Fantasy Cruncher add-on. But everything else, when you sign up at Prize Picks using that link, and they said, all right, let's do it. So check it out, prizepicks.com. If it's available in your state and you're looking to get some action, looking to get up to $100 first match deposit bonus and a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, now's a better time than ever to do it. All right, let's keep going here. Wide receivers. At the top, Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, two guys very expensive this week. The top of the wide receiver position in general, Neil, has 4 guys at 87 plus, 6 players at 8K plus. They have improved the pricing a little bit on the top end of receivers.
Yeah, we've got some expensive guys. Yeah, just looking at the expensive. I mean, Cooper Kupp, probably the first guy you got to talk about. 20% projected ownership, 22% chance of being optimal. Hard not to like Cooper Kupp against the Cardinals defense that has been pretty mediocre to bad all year. Cardinals 20th in terms of pass DVOA, so great spot for the Rams. Passing offense to do something, and 15th against the rush as well. So hard not. I mean, Cooper Kupp's one of those guys that I like playing every. I actually went really heavy this past week because I saw Cooper Kupp was not getting a ton of ownership, and obviously did not work out for me because Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill both had phenomenal games. But I'm going to be going right back there, playing a lot of Cooper Kupp once again this week. Of course, the ownership is a little bit higher. I don't really care. I'm still going to be playing probably above the field on Cooper Kupp, I would guess. Tyreek Hill, 9,100. Finally, they priced Tyreek Hill up. That is still our top stack of the week. Looking at our top stack tool, Miami looks like an incredible stack once again. Tyreek Hill, 14.3% projected ownership, 15.3% chance of being in the optimal lineup at 9,100. I'm buying in again. I'll be playing some Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle down at 7,600. As you said it earlier on the show, that's an expensive damn stack. Jalen Waddle 7,600, Tyreek Hill 9,100. It's going to be hard to build around that stack, but if you do, I mean, those pieces all look awesome. Jalen Waddle, 7.2% projected ownership, 8.3% chance of being optimal. Maybe even consider doing a skinny stack there. I don't know. We don't need to talk about stacks just yet, but both of those Miami guys look really good. Justin Jefferson, tough matchup against the Bills, but if Josh Allen is playing, the Vikings probably going to need to be throwing the ball. So 8,800, he's an okay play. I don't love him as much as I have in past weeks. 9.7% projected ownership, 8.3% chance of being optimal against the Bills. Hard to love it entirely as much as I have in some better matchups. Devontae Adams, fine. What a world. We 2 weeks ago, he has like less than one fantasy point, if I remember. Maybe that's wrong, but
no, he had like 1.6 or something. He had one reception for 5 or 6 yards. Yeah.
And everybody gets off him that quickly, and then he puts up 39 fantasy points this week. Now it looks like the ownership is coming back to about where it should be, 8.1% projected ownership, 8.2% optimal. So neutral there for Devontae Adams at 8,700. Stephon Diggs, I don't know. Would you play Stephon Diggs if Case Keenum is at quarterback, or even if Josh Allen is at quarterback? Do you have any concerns about the injury? Is that going to lead you away from Stephon Diggs at all?
Well, let me first say, Devontae Adams put those numbers up in the first half.
True. Yeah.
That's what scares me the most, though, because is there a bigger night and day Jekyll and Hyde type situation, great versus shit situation than there is in Las Vegas? One game he does nothing. The next game, the first half, it looks like he's about to put up historic numbers, right? And then in the second half, Derek Carr throws for 36 yards. I have no idea which version of the Raiders we're going to get each week. I have no idea which version. I shouldn't even say of Devontae Adams. I should say of Derek Carr.
Right. It does make it tough.
It makes it
he got there in the first half.
Yeah. I loved Adams last week. That game had a high total. It was a good spot. But after seeing that, it's so weird. I'm almost less confident in Devontae Adams this week than I was last week, even after a huge game, because there's so many good high-priced receivers. And I'm thinking, God, if Derek Carr can completely melt down in the second half like that or against the Saints, how often is this going to happen? Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there. To answer your question, you're saying, do I have concerns about Diggs if Allen is out or if Allen plays?
Regardless of who's in. Yeah. In either scenario, do you have concerns about Diggs because of the quarterback situation?
Ben made an interesting point yesterday that Case Keenum has played with Stephon Diggs, play with Stephon. The big play against the Saints, right? That was Keenum.
Wasn't Keenum the Minneapolis Miracle? Man,
I didn't. Maybe it was Cousins. For some reason, I thought it was Keenum.
It could have been. I can't remember at this point. I just remember the Diggs part of it being so exciting. I don't remember who was in at quarterback.
Yeah, I thought it was Keenum. Maybe not. Either way, they have history together for sure, right? And at this point, I'm thinking, no, it was because it was the year that the next week the Eagles shit on him in right.
Yep.
Yeah. So 2017 was Cousins last year with Washington. Anyway, I think ownership would probably be extraordinarily low if it's Keenum, or at least a lot lower than some of these other high-priced guys. That would make it really interesting. This game could still shoot out. Keenum's not the worst thing in the world. Of course, I'd rather have Josh Allen, but what if Josh Allen's not 100%?
Right. Would you rather have Keenum or not 100% Josh Allen? Probably still Josh Allen.
Probably still Josh Allen. Yeah. I think I'd probably still have Josh Allen, but it's a tough question. Yeah, I'd like to see obviously how Allen progresses through the week, if at all, then we can make a decision there. But yeah, I would play some Diggs with Keenum. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think that I will. I mean, so looking at our our boom bust tool, we've got Stephon Diggs at 14.4% projected ownership, 14.4% optimal. My assumption is that is with Josh Allen in at quarterback. Like that's assuming Josh Allen is a full go. I might be a little bit under the field on Stephon Diggs, although I guess I'll probably be under the field on Stephon Diggs if it's Case Keenum in at quarterback. If it's Josh Allen, maybe I'd still consider being close to where the field is at, but I think I still might try to get just a little bit under that number because I do have concerns about the injury there. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm surprised to see this negative leverage on Hopkins. 10% projected ownership, 5.2% chance of being optimal. With the way he's been so involved in the passing game, I would have expected that number to be better. Against the Rams pass defense, 22nd against the pass, a little bit of a pass funnel. I'm surprised to see the negative leverage on DeAndre Hopkins. But
me too.
That's what we're seeing.
Yeah, and Tata Rayford, welcome to Team Stokastic. Badge looks good. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by it too. I guess a lot of it probably just comes down. There's just so many high-priced guys this week. It's going to make it tough. What about the fact that Zay Jones and Christian Kirk are both pulling double-digit ownership?
Are they really? Let's see. Zay Jones, 4,400 for Zay Jones, and look, positive leverage, 10.7% projected ownership, 11.5% chance of being optimal. That's kind of interesting to me. I hadn't thought about doing some Trevor stacks, but maybe they're worth considering. And then Christian Kirk.
The game has a 50.5 point total.
Yeah, 12.9% projected ownership on Kirk, 8.4% chance of being optimal at 5,900. I'll probably consider doing some Jaguar stocks. They're going to need to be throwing the ball to keep up with the Chiefs. The Chiefs defense has not been nearly as good as their offense. They are 24th against the pass, 20th against the rush. So it is a very good spot. Trevor Lawrence has a little bit of rushing upside too. I think I could see myself going to some Trevor Lawrence Jaguar stacks, and even as one-offs. I mean, as you said, Zay Jones, 4,400. We've got some positive leverage there. So I liked it. I like the spot for the Jags this week.
Brandon Smith makes a good point too. He said, I think they're the best bring back options for Kansas City stacks. Yeah, because if you're stacking Kansas City, Mahomes and Kelsey are expensive. Then it flattens out a little. Juju's not cheap, but I think McCall Hardman at 4,500 is a real nice play. This guy has been getting more than enough opportunities in the red zone, and boy, do I love seeing that, man. Like you're talking about. Let me pull this up. I think this will surprise you, Neil. Let me just pull this up here.
All right, we're gonna play our game, our cat and mouse game. How many targets do you think he's had this year? And I'm gonna say 200. And you're going to be like, no, 6, but he's caught a touchdown on all of them.
That's exactly what I plan on doing. Now, all right, here we go. So if you're just looking at red zone opportunities, right? Inside the 10, sort by that. Okay. So Mecole Hardman, I wasn't saying it's anything like insane. But Mecole Hardman has 6 targets inside the red zone or inside the 10 this year, 5 receptions and 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like inside the 10, this guy has been really good.
Which
really
is what we expected in past years. Like he's always been a guy that, we thought would be more involved in these kind of short plays, throw it to him, let him do his thing. And he finally this year seems to be put into, he's come close, I think, in past years sometimes, but he seems to be finally putting it together this year. It's kind of actually frustrating for me as somebody who drafted more of all of the other Chiefs receivers in best ball to see Mecole Hardman being the guy that breaks out, but shouldn't be that big of a shock. He's always had some talent. He's a quick guy. So good for him. Yeah. Looks good. The price is, I'm surprised the price is still so low despite the season he's had. Like that's just an error on DraftKings part, I think.
I know, it's crazy. Can you hear this?
I can't hear this. Is your dog having nightmares? That's what my dog sounds like when he's having nightmares.
She's never told me whether it's a good dream or a nightmare when I wake her up.
Good point. Yeah. Sounds like a nightmare to me. Just like he's barking at somebody. He's clearly upset.
Yeah. I don't like it. And then the cheeks puff out. I always subtly, wake her up, but
yeah,
that was a loud one, man.
Yeah.
Hear that from across the street. But yeah, Hardman 6 targets inside the 10. Kelsey has 10. Edwards-Helaire has 5, but he's being phased out a lot more. That was all from earlier in the year. At 4,500, it's just like what guy other than Kelsey has the highest likelihood of giving you 2 touchdown game? I think it's Mecole Hardman.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is at this point. Now we had Kadarius Toney to the mix, but he played in like the first quarter, maybe early second quarter, and then didn't play a snap the rest of the game for the Chiefs in the last game.
Yeah,
maybe he gets a little bit more involved this game. Yeah, you're probably right. It probably is Mecole Hardman. We just have not seen it. I mean, Juju's been fairly involved. He looked good in the last Chiefs game. Seemed to be getting more involved. But yeah, it might be Mecole Hardman. He certainly, I mean, based on what we've seen so far this year, he is the guy who has actually done it. All of these Chiefs receivers, as I'm looking through, actually look kind of interesting. Mecole Hardman in the tool, 6% projected ownership, 6.1% optimal. MVS is only 4,100. 6% projected ownership, 8% chance to be an optimal. I'm going to fall for that trap again. Go back to some MVS. Juju actually has some negative leverage here, 11% projected ownership, 8% chance to be an optimal, but I'm still going to be playing some Juju at 6,000. Maybe not going to be, somebody that I'm going to in droves, but I'll probably play some Juju. The real question is, am I going to be playing any Kadarius Toney? And it's going to come down to ownership. We've got him at 1.4% projected ownership. He's at 5,000. I think that I probably will go to some Kadarius Toney and just hope that with the extra week, he is more involved. He has negative leverage in the tools, 1.4% projected ownership, 0.3% optimal. But this is one of those spots that I would say that's extremely fragile. We have no idea how involved he's going to be. If he's going to be, up to speed after one more week of practice, he could be a lot more involved than we expect. So if he's not getting any ownership, I think I might take a few shots on Kadarius Toney as well.
I get it. I do. Look, there's a million different ways you can go with Kansas City for sure. Hardman has 5 touchdowns over the last 3 games though. So I think he should be at least 5K in a spot like this, but he's not. And he's only getting 5% ownership. I only mention that because it's, say you're going Mahomes and Kelsey, and then Hardman and Kirk, or Hardman and Zay Jones. That opens it up a little bit. Like, you're not running. You could obviously try and run it back with ETN. I don't think that's insane. But if you wanted to go with a pass catching option, you can get it at a pretty discounted price. You know who my favorite low on player is this week? And I'm shocked that he's getting 5%. Take a guess. Take a gander.
All right, I'm gonna sort by ownership so I can look around 5%.
Oh, well, that's unfair, but go ahead.
I'm not allowed to cheat here. I thought I could.
That's
cheat.
all right. Go ahead. Yeah, please.
I'm going to go with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Amari Cooper.
Didn't even see him there.
This Miami defense stinks. Clear pass funnel defense. They're playing in massive shootouts against teams that are even remotely competent at moving the football.
I'm seeing 9% ownership, by the way, so that's why I didn't see him.
Okay, well then that came up. That came up from when I updated all of this.
All right.
Actually, I know for a fact that it came up because DPJ and Amari were both at 5%. Okay. Even so,
it's a great spot.
I'll keep the exact same stance on him. That's why I said 5% seems odd, but I'll keep the same stance on Amari Cooper at 9%. The last 2 games, right? 58 total points, 67 total points. This is against Detroit and Chicago, Neil. It's not against the Buffalo Bills or the Eagles or the Vikings or the Chiefs. It's against the Detroit Lions and the Chicago Bears. And again, credit the Bears offense lately, but still, you're talking about 59 points allowed. They've won both of those games because they score a ton of points. It's very possible they go up early. I think Njoku's in play. I think DPJ is in play. I mean, I'll just continue rolling with the trend. I'll continue riding the wave until it crashes, basically.
Playing against the Dolphins, you're saying?
Yeah. Passing game? Yeah, absolutely.
It's working out great. Yeah, why not? Yeah. No, I like that call. Amari Cooper's certainly looking interesting. Somebody just brought up Michael Pittman in chat. I think he's an interesting play. It's hard because, like, Sam Ehlinger is the quarterback. Now they fired the coach and don't have anybody who's been a play caller among their coaches. They did just hire somebody new. So maybe that's no longer the case, but man, it's a transitional period. Hard to know what to expect from the Colts offense this week, but Michael Pittman is at 6,200, which for as talented as he is, that price tag seems about right for him. We've got a little bit of positive leverage, 6.3% projected ownership, 7.2% chance to be an optimal. Again, I think that this one is a little bit fragile in that we don't know what to expect at all from this offense with a new head coach this week. So it's an interesting spot. Do you have any thoughts on Michael Pittman?
I think he should be like 5,400.
You think it's still too expensive? Yeah, probably.
What Vegas has a bad defense. I'm not saying that. You just hired Jeff Saturday. So Jim Irsay is just having fun out there over the second half of the season. It seems like, even if they do have a guy that can play calls or call plays, does it help
with Sam Ehlinger? Yeah, I'm not sure that it does.
Like, it doesn't make. They might do some trickery. They might find some ways to get tricky. these are the type of games that like the Colts will end up winning because they do some crazy stuff, like the wildcat formation against the Patriots with Miami, and then it just was never effective after that. It's not to say you can't get a player or two in, but not the way Ronnie Brown was doing that, right? Like just running all over them. Maybe there's some trickery. Maybe they mix things up. Then you get them on tape, but it doesn't make Sam Ehlinger more capable of throwing the ball 20 plus yards downfield either.
Right. I sort of hate when there's coaching changes midweek because everybody, we all make the assumption that like, oh, this team is going to be worse with the coaching change. I feel like so often you just see a team get up for that spot with the new coach. Like they're excited, they're amped up to play. It throws things for a loop a little bit when there is a new coach. Just I think for 1 week you just have no idea what to expect. And this is one of those spots that it's really hard to predict what is going to happen here. But yeah, I just don't have a lot of confidence in Sam Ehlinger to be able to, I mean, even if like Michael Pittman, he could put up 20 fantasy points here, right? That would be a phenomenal game for him. Does he have the upside for 30 with Sam Ehlinger throwing him the ball? I'm not sure that he does.
I don't think so. No. And at 6,200, you're going to need that to win a tournament.
Right. So not my favorite play on the board. He does have a little bit of positive leverage, but I don't think I'm going to be getting there a whole ton just because I don't see the 30 fantasy point ups. I could be wrong, and obviously we have him optimal in the tools more often than he is owned. So it showed up in the Sims as being optimal a little bit more than I would have expected, but it's just hard for me to envision it. So I don't think I'm going to be going to a ton of Michael Pittman this weekend. I think we should talk about obviously Darnell Mooney just because Fields is the quarterback everybody's going to want to play. Darnell Mooney, 5,500, 7.7% projected ownership, 10.2% chance of being optimal. Looks good. Do you think you'd be playing Darnell Mooney in non-Fields lineups?
Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. He's what's his price again?
He's 5,500 and Fields is up to 6,500. So yeah, it's more reasonable when Fields is a little bit more expensive to play some Mooney without Fields because Fields needs a little bit more to get it done.
Yeah. Like, listen, if the question is, am I going to exclude Mooney from non-Fields lineups? No, I don't. Right. I don't think I'll be jamming him in either. Right.
Yep. Same boat.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really curious about where you're at on the Rams wide receivers not named Cooper Kupp, because I don't know what has happened to Tyler Higbee, but he has been effectively removed from the offense lately. This is shocking because through the first 5 or so 6 weeks of the season, he had a 25% target share. And now you're talking about someone that is just completely fallen off a cliff. Now we'll get to tight end, but I wanted to, Van Jefferson had 5 targets last game. Didn't catch a single one of them, had a bad drop, but really? He's, I think, probably the cheapest viable receiver. Maybe Marquez Callaway at a similar price, especially if Landry's already out. But Van Jefferson's 3,500. Allen Robinson is 4,800. They're facing a bad Arizona team. Any interest there at all?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of our top stacks again. The Rams. Every week I like the Rams, and every week they disappoint me. But I'm going to be probably making that same mistake again. They're playing. It's a better matchup this week. So against Tampa Bay, it was like, man, it's hard for me to see it, but they look so good, so I'm going to play it. Here, it's obviously a lot easier to envision the Rams having success against the Cardinals. So I actually like it. I feel a lot more confident playing the Rams this week against the Cardinals defense than I did against the Bucks. Allen Robinson, we have at 3.4% projected ownership, 5.4% chance of being optimal. Have to love that. Van Jefferson, 3% projected ownership, only 1.6% chance of being optimal. 5 targets though last week. Man, those 5 targets could really turn into something against the Cardinals. For a guy like Van Jefferson, that could be 100 yards. With 5 targets could be easily 100 yards and a touchdown at 3,500. So I think that this is a spot where I actually might be going over the field despite the negative leverage as well.
Yeah, me too.
I don't think I'm playing Ben Skowronek anymore. I think that just hasn't shown the upside. I was willing to play him when he was like the number 2/3 receiver. I don't think I'm willing to play him as the
no
4th
ceiling
guy. There's just there's no ceiling at this point.
His only touchdown was on like an end around 17 yards out on the season.
I mean, he was like getting targets early on in the year. Yeah. So it felt like I actually played him a lot early on in the year in those stats, but at this point he's just fallen so far down the depth chart that I don't think it's worth it.
Any other receivers? Or you want to keep this one moving?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we are low on time. Chris Olave, somebody brought up, looks great. He is 6,800. The price has come up. 6.6% projected ownership, though 8.2% chance of being optimal. He looks very good. Yeah, I guess we can't talk about everybody here. I think we've done a pretty good job of covering the most important guys we need to talk about.
Yeah, tight ends won't take long. We'll wrap it up with top stacks as well. Very fun spot to look at. I love our top stacks tool. I know you do as well. The boom bust tool, ownership. That's why this show, obviously giving opinions, but using the tools to guide us as well is huge. Not just on this one, but throughout the week. On your On the Contrary show, everything we do on Sunday, you get 3 free days as well. If you want to use the link in the chat or in the description, if you're watching after the fact, that'll get you 3 free days to all of our NFL content, or just play it smart and sign up at BetMGM and deposit $10 and get 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. For those of you out there, you're going, fuck, Prize Picks isn't available in my state. Well, I bet if it's not, that MGM is, and that's 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All the tools I talked about earlier in the show. I mean, insane. The link is right there in the description. The link is right there in chat. All you're doing is clicking that link and following the very simple directions. Okay. You're depositing $10 when you use the link and sign up. And then you're putting it on any bet you want. Once that bet settles, you still get paid out if you win, and they'll hit you up telling you how to get your 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum. $240 value there. Not to mention, with this offer, you're also getting up to a risk-free bet up to $1,000. So if you deposit $1,000, that means you're getting a risk-free bet of $1,000. If your bet loses, you get that $1,000 back in free bets. If you do 100 and you bet $100, that $100 bet loses, you get $100 back in free bets. So whatever it is, you got that, and you got the 2 free months of Stokastic Plus Platinum, all of our DFS tools, everything that Neil and I reference for every single sport out there. If these sites have contests for it, we got content for it. Check it out if you haven't done so yet. Be it Prize Picks or MGM, whichever one's in your state, there's your opportunity to get in on free subscriptions, free money, and take advantage of it. All right. And like I said, links right there in the description and in chat. Click it. The directions are super easy. You can't mess that up like all the Pennsylvanians did with their mail-in ballots. All right, Neil, talk to me about tight end. We have Higbee. Let me make sure I've updated it for the most recent run. Do we still have him as the highest owned tight end?
I believe so. Yeah. At least as far as my last refresh, which was recent, we have him at 13% projected ownership. And so we have positive leverage on Tyler Higbee, 18% optimal, 18% boom. I don't want to say that I'm getting less than that I'm going to get less than that, because I am planning on playing some Ram stacks and he's going to make some sense. I don't think that I want to get to a ton more than 13% though. Just looking at his game log through the first 5 weeks of the year, Tyler Higbee targets 11, 9, 4, 14, and 10. So we had that one outlier week with 4. Every other week of the first 5, he had 9 or more targets. The past 3 though, 2, 6, 1. Like the targets are just not there recently. As you said, he's not getting the target. So I feel like maybe this is based on season long. Like you look at all of his stats for the entire year, his targets look good, but trending in the wrong direction pretty rapidly here. So it's really hard for me to want to get to, much above that 13% we have on Tyler Higbee. I might be under the field. The only reason I think I might not be is that I do like Ram stacks this week. So I think that'll probably be, but I mean, we also talked about, I like Cooper Kupp, and then we talked about both Allen Robinson and Van Jefferson as being guys we can play. So I think I might be going to those receivers more so than the tight end this week.
I could see it. The Higbee spot really does concern me. I'm not trying to overreact to a few weeks, but the offense has already been so bad anyway that
right.
It's just another wrinkle in there. Kelsey, 7,800. He's expensive, but we don't really need to talk about Travis Kelsey all that much. He's just a receiver who can catch a ton of touchdowns at the tight end position.
He's an elite receiver. Yeah. Playing at the tight end that you can play at tight end. Yeah. So if you're paying up a tight end, he's the guy you're paying up for. We don't have any other pay up options this week. And obviously he looks great. 11% projected ownership, 12% optimal, 20% chance of booming at 7,800. Yeah. Travis Kelsey. We know what he is. If you want to pay up a tight end, he's the guy there. David Njoku, you talked about how much you like Amari Cooper. David Njoku also against that same Miami defense, only 4,100, 10% projected ownership, 12% chance of being optimal. He looks pretty good this weekend. Greg Dulcich, only 3,400, 9.8% projected ownership, 11% optimal. He is very quickly taken over. I didn't really anticipate how quickly he would take over as the tight end for the Broncos when they had that, 4 or 5 tight end rotation for much of the year. He comes in and 3 targets the first game, 9 targets in the second game with the team, and then 5 in the third. So very quickly taken over that tight end spot. Very talented.
He's a day 2 rookie draft pick that was on the IR, and they clearly wanted to use him from the beginning.
It was funny how much people were talking about Albert O all offseason in the best ball streets. There were a lot of people who were really high on Albert O, and I couldn't I got just a little bit under the 8%, whatever would be average, just because I was like, man, people are really talking about him. But then everybody also talking about this Dulcich, like they just got this new rookie who seems to be talented. So it was hard for me to buy in, and I'm glad I did not, because now Albert O just not even part of the rotation. Dulcich looks good.
You really think Cole Kmet gets 5%?
I'm seeing 7.3%.
All right. Yeah, you know what? They must have updated literally immediately after I put all these numbers in, because I write them down just for our run sheet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, all right. Well, Cole Kmet, 7%. Still not that high. He's $3,400. Dawson Knox is $3,300. One day he's going to give me that game I'm looking for.
Yeah, well, would you again? Same question as we had with Diggs, though. Do we want to play Dawson Knox if it's Case Keenum? I feel like the appeal to Dawson Knox, like he's not some special tight end. The appeal is he's playing in the best offense in the game. So yeah, it's a little bit harder.
I'd rather have Allen
if it is Case Keenum. Yeah, sorting by ownership. Freiermuth kind of interesting. 8.2% projected ownership. No Claypool anymore. 8.8% optimal. So some positive leverage on Freiermuth. Evan Ingram, you can add him to those Jacksonville pass catchers who are decent bringbacks against the Chiefs. Tight end spot 3,300. You could definitely do worse than Evan Ingram. Gesicki actually has some positive leverage here. 3.9% projected ownership. 7.4% optimal. He stands out a little bit. Brock Wright, 2,700 for Detroit. Against that bad Bears defense makes some sense. There are a lot of, I feel like tight end is one of those positions that most weeks I'm spreading out. I actually didn't last week. I kind of jammed in Gerald Everett and it didn't really work out. He had a fine game, but obviously was not the guy you needed. So that didn't work out. I think this is a week where it's really hard for me. I don't see anybody that I'm taking a huge stand on. It's going to be pair them with their quarterback. Nobody that I'm going to be like way over the field on, I don't think.
I'll throw one more guy out there, then we can talk top stacks. Tanner Hudson ran 32 routes last week, or 2 weeks ago. They were on a bye. 32 routes. A lot of people, we didn't know, but Chris Myrick seemed like the guy. He only ran 8 routes, was targeted once. Tanner Hudson was targeted 5 times, played 72% of snaps. Myrick was blocking on his most of his 46% of snaps. So Tanner Hudson's dirt cheap. You might need a guy like that. A guy like that might be helpful in Miami stacks or in Kansas City stacks. So yeah, that's not a bad performance in that game. Now I will say though, be leery of that volume from last time out. They were trailing the entirety of that game. Their only touchdown came on a 5 yards out on a Seattle fumble, and they needed to throw the football more. It's unlikely in this game as 6.5-point favorites that Daniel Jones is going to have to be throwing, all that much. So that's worth keeping in mind. Shit, man, this might be the first time they've been favored all season. I think I might have been slight favorites against Carolina, and Chicago. I'm wrong. I guess they were slight favorites against Chicago too, but they've been dogs in almost every game this season. So yeah, 6.5-point home favorites. Wouldn't be surprised to see them fall flat here, but I think Hudson's fine. I'm just not going into it expecting more volume in a game where they're big favorites. I think you see a lot of rushing in this one.
Yeah, and I actually want to add one more. So Eric Johnson says, Neil, you're a Minnesota guy. Thoughts on TJ Hawkinson? Man, I was surprised to see how involved TJ Hawkinson was. His first game with the Vikings already very clearly taken over as a guy that they want to be getting the ball to. The thing is just, it's tough this week because of the matchup with the Bills defense. I'm not as confident in it, but I think that he's certainly in play at 5,300. We actually have positive leverage on TJ Hawkinson, 3.7% projected ownership, 4.8% optimal. It's a tough spot against the Bills, but if he is going to be involved as like the number 2 pass catcher like he was last week, he's going to be interesting week in and week out.
Yeah, but how many percent of snaps do you think he played last week?
That's a good question.
Take a guess.
Oh, take a guess. 7%.
91, baby.
Damn it, you got me.
There we go.
I kind of, as I was saying, I was like, oh no, he's tricking me here.
Yeah,
All right, well played.
He was on the field a shit ton. That's more than I expected.
Yeah.
All right.
So he's in play.
Yeah, I looked at it. Honestly, my initial reaction was he's too expensive. But looking at it now, I think you're right. I think there's something to that. He ran route. Let's see, 36 routes on how many dropbacks? On 42 dropbacks. Wow. So Hawkinson's just out there running routes on every time Cousins tries. Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting.
Fun. Yeah, it's really interesting.
What's his ownership?
We've got him like 3.7% projected ownership.
That's low. That is low. All right. Let's close this out. Hit that thumbs up too if you haven't done so yet. There's got to be some of you out there that have been holding back on the old like button. There got to be a few of you that can take that single second, help support us. I wouldn't ask if it didn't help the show. It helps us and the channel a ton. So if you enjoy this content, hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. We appreciate you guys for that. And remember, like I said, the BetMGM and Prize Picks promos for the free months of Stokastic, the risk-free bets, the first match deposit bonuses, all those links are in the description. All right. Top stack probability, Miami, Buffalo, Kansas City, Rams. Man, our tools still like that Rams stack each week.
I know, that's what I was saying. Like, and I get shit for it because I've been recommending it every week and it's not working out. So I'm like, this week finally I can get away from it. Right. And now, of course, they're playing Arizona, so I'm going right back to it. You don't have to come with me. If you don't want to come with me, you don't have to do it. But I'm probably going right back to that Rams stack. Have to love Cooper Kupp. Obviously, makes it easy. And then we've got the value options in Van Jefferson, and then Allen Robinson as a mid-range option as well. So I'm gonna be going right back to that Rams stack. Hard not to. Miami, the obvious one, as you look at the top stacks tool, they have a 100 rating once again. They're all so expensive though. So Hill, Waddle, Tua. I think Larry C's pointed out in chat that if you play them and throw in like one of the cheapest defenses, you have like 4,900 left over. That's actually not that hard to work with 4,900. You play a cheap tight end, you can make it work. And we see, so I'm in the top stacks tool, 7.9% projected ownership on Tua, 20.1% chance of being the top stack. Now, of course, that doesn't factor in the salaries, but then you look at the top value stack, still 12.6% chance of being the top point per dollar stack on the week. So hard not to like Miami a little bit. Of course, that could also include Gesicki, or no, it only includes top 1 and 2 receiving combo. So I was a probability for top scoring with 1 receiver and 2 receivers together. So yeah, Miami looks good. Obviously one of the top stack on the board. Kansas City going right back there, 14.5% projected ownership for Mahomes, 14.9% chance of being the top stack. Anything else that stands out to you here?
Kansas City's fascinating because there's so many different ways you can do it.
Yeah.
A lot Juju, Mecole Hardman, Kelsey, obviously, but does MVS get back involved? You mentioned Kadarius Toney earlier. There's a lot of variations to that stack to make it different. A lot of variations on the run back because ETN is a good pass catching back as well. Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Marvin Jones. I like that. I have I'm real gun shy on the Rams right now. I get it. And then you had Jalen Ramsey after last game being like, we need some dogs on offense. Just calling out the offense. Don't really blame him either.
Yeah.
Defense can't win every damn game.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other spots I really like.
I was surprised to see how good the Vikings actually look this week. 2% projected ownership for Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
4.6% chance to be in the top stack. I mean, if you buy into TJ Hawkinson being like the guy, like being the number 2 for the Vikings, throw in a Jefferson and Hawkinson stack along with Kirk Cousins. It's not that expensive. I mean, it's kind of expensive because you have Jefferson in there, but it's reasonably expensive. That might be an interesting play against Buffalo. Maybe I do have an excuse to go right back to my Vikings there.
Arizona. I got one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
John reminded me of it. Thank you, John, in chat. Cleveland. I don't think Cleveland's the craziest idea. Listen, it doesn't grade out well in our top stacks tool. I get that. I do. It makes, but it isn't, this isn't like a Houston team, without Brandon Cooks, where you're like, okay, I can get there with Nico Collins and Chris Moore.
Right.
You have some players here, David Njoku, a Jacoby Brissett, Amari Cooper, David Njoku stack with a Tyreek Hill run back or a Waddle run back really isn't the craziest thing in the world at all to me.
Yeah, that actually, it might be a spot where you can do the huge game stack because you get the cheaper quarterback, you get David Njoku, not that expensive, Amari Cooper. You could maybe consider doing the full game stack with both Hill and Waddle in there as well. That'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, and we saw that work already with Miami and Detroit this year, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
That's you're right. Njoku opens things up, or even if you wanted to go with like a DPJ, you can do that. It's not insane. I mean, listen, it's still going to be expensive, but toss a cheap defense in there. It's doable. It's definitely doable. Yeah. So Cleveland, did you have anything else before we wrap it up?
I mean, Jacksonville, we should mention, because Jacksonville is one that intuitively I think I would want to play against Kansas City. Not as good of a defense. We talked about, the pass catches like a little bit. We do have some negative leverage there. 6.6% projected ownership on Trevor, 2% chance to be in the top stack. So doesn't look that great in the tools, but I think I'll still play some Jacksonville in this matchup and just hope that they can, they're playing from behind. They can score on this defense. Hard not to play some. We also, Eric Johnson brought up Daniel Jones earlier. As I said, negative leverage, 6.1% projected ownership for Daniel Jones, 2.7% chance to be in the top stack. I will add, though, in terms of being the top value stack, 6% chance. And if maybe you can play Daniel Jones with Wan'Dale Robinson and Saquon Barkley could be interesting. So I think there are ways to make an interesting Giant stack as well, because I think the tools probably don't factor in Saquon Barkley as a potential receiving option. So maybe you could make some Daniel Jones stacks that make sense. But I think we've largely covered the ones we need to.
I think we have. Good show as always, covering all the bases. And yes, John, marathon matchup show tomorrow. That'll be fun. Showdown strategy show at 9, marathon matchup show tomorrow. Neil's got On the Contrary coming up. What else do you have going on throughout the week?
Yeah, so I've got On the Contrary on Friday. Tomorrow, I've got all of my Thursday Night Football stuff. I write an article. I do a couple of videos on how I set up my fantasy cruncher for both FanDuel and DraftKings, and then I'll be on live before lock as well. So Mondays and Thursdays, kind of my big days where I'm doing all of that Showdown content.
Hey, shout out to Tyler Zander for producing this one, and all of you guys, as always, for hanging out. Fun show, as it always is. Follow Neil at PlayerQ DFS. I'm over at Loughy_D, LOUGHY_D. Tough one for most. I get it. Anyway, have a great rest of the day, guys. You got all the NBA content, live before lock, deeper dive coming up. Another big slate after no games yesterday. Peace.